choose to do something that will bring me up, whether it's reading a book or reading a quote or reading something, finding something positive to read, because I'm choosing to be better in life, and I choose happiness. You to connect the negatives with the positives in your life, and when you look at that, life becomes so much brighter, like so much brighter when you can do that. So, you know, sometimes we have to reassess, like really to connect the negatives with the positives in your life, and when you look at that, life becomes so much brighter, like so much brighter when you can do that. Love you all, and you guys have an amazing, amazing Saturday.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 5515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left in our daughter's gun. A note was left in your daughter's gun? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old. How long ago was it? I don't know. I just have the note. And my daughter's dead. Does it say who took her? What? Does it say who took her? I don't know. There's a ransom note here. It's a ransom note? It says FBTC. Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Kathy Ramsey and the mother? Oh my God. Please. Okay, I'm sending it off the film, okay? Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't.
Want you to be mine, and want you to be mine.
I found my headphones in one place where I thought, no, they won't be in there. But apparently when I was walking and I tripped on them and they snaked around my ankles, I was on the way to my bathroom. So that's where they were. And I found them. And so I decided to recreate this because I really want to listen to Nancy Grace. I really want to hear what she's saying. Again, I'm pretty sure it was my laptop because I've dropped it and I have to send it back before I found my headphones, Dallas. That's what was the issue. I had this same live going just about a half hour ago or 20 minutes ago, 15, I don't know. And I couldn't hear what she was saying, Nancy Grace. And it's on my end because I dropped my laptop and my audio is messed up on it and I need to send it away. But I couldn't find my headphones. So that's who I found. I found the headphones. So I want to say welcome to Parawoman Radio, everyone. I'm Amy. And we're just about to go in to listen to the Nancy Grace with the Lori and Chad Daybell. This is a case that I want to travel to Idaho and attend and bring you the trial. I actually have a little savings set aside for it. It's not enough yet, but I'm trying to save for it so I can go to the trial and bring you the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow trial live for at least a few days at least. So, all right, we're going to take it back to the beginning because some of you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, taking it back to the beginning. But here we go. This is Nancy Grace. So you either love Nancy or you hate Nancy, and I love her. How do you guys feel about her? Do you love her or do you hate her?
How many times do I have to ask this question? Will she ever go away? Well, you know what? I know the answer to that. The answer is no. Cult mom Lori Vallow is going to be with us for a very long time. There is someday going to be a trial for the murder of her 2 children, and that's just touching the tip of the iceberg with all the dead bodies connected to Lori Vallow. There will be a trial. God help us all. I think there will be a conviction. Then there will be years and years of antics behind bars, and then the appeals process.
So
God forbid there's a reversal.
I just quickly looked up the date on the trial is April 3rd, 2023. It was supposed to be this winter, and I was really debating on whether I could do something like that because I think it was supposed to be in January with all the ice and snow. And I'm from Michigan, but I'm currently in Florida, and I have that Florida blood now, and I just can't handle the rain and the snow and the sleet and the cold. Okay, so you love Nancy? Yeah, she's wonderful. I like her too. So April 3rd. Too bad it wasn't April 1st, eh?
And so forth and so on. I mean, Charles Manson is dead. He's still dead, isn't he, Jackie? Charles Manson is dead, and we still hear about him all the time. Okay, in that vein,
Charles Manson is the first case that I ever read about. We were learning it in my psychology class. I think I was like probably a junior or a sophomore in high school, and we read Helter Skelter, and it scared the living daylights out of me because they like really hit home that these homes were middle class homes, and guess where I lived? In a middle class home, and I was terrified, and I wouldn't sleep with my windows open, and it was like in between where it would be hot in the day and cool at night, so the air conditioner wasn't running at night, and I wouldn't open my windows, and I'd scream that I was hot. My mom would be like, open the windows. I'm like, I want to, but I cannot. I have a real fear of something happening to me while I sleep, and that scared the living daylights out of me.
let me introduce to you our guest today. It's Nate Aiden. And I believe I can say not only my colleague, but now my friend. Nate, thank you for joining us.
I feel like Nate did a really, really good job of following Chad or we could call them the Daybells, following the Daybells to Hawaii and being like, where are your children? Tell us where your children are. He really put the, what is that? When you put the fire underneath their feet, is that? That's a saying, but I didn't say it right.
It's a real pleasure to have you on. Nate Aiden is the news director at EastIdahoNews.com. You can find him on Facebook, Nate Aiden -reporter. That's your Facebook handle, right? Nate Aiden -reporter. Okay, we're going to have to help you with that. And on Instagram at n.aiden. Nate. Okay, I've got a lot of serious topics to talk about with cult mom Lori Vallow. But first, there's a certain spring to her step. There's more jail-made makeup. Her hair looks different. She's dressing up almost giddy. Is it because she sees? Is it husband number 4 or 5? I lost track. I think it's 4. The cult prophet, Chad Daybell. As if I know, but I've got a sense from reading the New Testament that Christ would not be very happy with Chad Daybell's doomsday hate-filled prophecy about somehow getting to heaven is like a VIP limited ticket event. I'll be lucky.
Well, weren't only a few tickets sold to this event? I think there were only a few.
Just to be a little mouse in the corner watching
150,
all
140.
the saints, if I get really lucky. But this guy really takes the cake. But
this is what I have to say.
That and back on Lori
No,
Vallow,
I'm not
that's
gonna
something
say
I can tell you about trials. Why is she so happy in court? Is it because she's seeing Daybell?
Well, they did appear for the very first time together in a courtroom very, very recently. And one thing that stuck out to me, Nancy, is, we were all sitting there waiting for the defendants to walk in, and Lori came in with a big smile on her face.
Oh, good God, we're here again. I can never hear Nancy Grace, and when I put my headphones in, I can hear her breathing, and it's really hard for me to hear people breathing. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Okay, I just want to remind you that this is Pairwoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. It helps me dance out into the algorithm and bring more people back to the party. It's just really a free way to help me out. And if you really like my content, be sure to subscribe. And if you subscribe, you have to ring the bell to get notified of when I upload content
Friends
or go
now?
live.
You're on a first name basis? Do you expect
Lori
to be
Vallow,
invited
Jake.
over for one of her cult mom dinners when she gets out of jail? That's not happening. Lori Vallow, or just cult mom. Please, you're hurting my ears. Go ahead.
She had a smile on. She had on her lipstick. Her hair was curled. She had on black leggings, a nice white blouse, and she sat down and waited for Chad Daybell to walk in. And one thing I noticed is when he walked in, he looked at her ever so slightly, gave her a small smile, and then looked straight ahead.
Oh,
and over the next
wow.
hours,
Oh, wow. Why do you think he gave her a slight smile? Do you think do you think there's still like something between them? Or do you think he's just trying to hold her on the leash he has her on, and to have her like continue to look like she's the crazy one? I think maybe a little bit of both.
Trouble in paradise. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lori repeatedly looked over at Chad, but I did not see him glance at her, even when it came time for him to leave for his, to go back to the jail. She looked at him. He did not look at her. So one can assume that they're each building their own defense strategies as we get closer and closer to the trial.
What would Lori's defense strategy be with her having googly eyes at Chad? I'd like to know what that defense strategy is. Lord.
That is likely a very wise assumption, because now they're not together all the time the way they were when I'm just going to put it out there, cheated on both their spouses.
They wanted to be together. They asked to be together. They asked if they could discuss the case since it's their co-defendants. They wanted to be alone and discuss the case without any recording devices. And the judge said, let me think about this. No. That's what the judge said.
Both of their spouses end up dead. And now they are still married, even though they're in separate holding facilities. Is there any way that they can FaceTime each other? I mean, in the sense that could she FaceTime her lawyer and he patch in Daybell, who is FaceTiming his lawyer from the jail? Is that possible?
Yes, but from what I've heard, that has not happened because Lori asked her attorney to file a motion to see Chad face to face so that they could have strategy sessions. They wanted to sit down in a room without the prosecutor there, but have Chad's attorney, Chad, Lori's attorney, Lori, have a deputy outside the door so that the room is secure, and really to discuss strategy. Obviously, the state had major issues with this. They said, if you're talking strategy or settlement, we need to be involved in this. But Lori wanted to see her husband, and her attorney argued that they're married. They should have a right. They're charged with the same crimes. They should have the legal right to sit together and talk about strategy. Ultimately, the judge said, no, that's not happening.
Okay. What do you guys think? Do you think they had a legal right to sit down alone together without the prosecutor? I think they might have given up that legal right when they did what they did. But that's me with the foreshadowing thought of I believe they did what they did. I believe they're guilty. Do you guys believe they're guilty? I mean, I've never had a case where I didn't believe 100% otherwise. Let me think. The Watts case, I was really sick, so I didn't see like the beginnings of it. So I when I saw him the Sermon on the Mount on the porch. I looked at him and I thought he looked guilty, but I didn't. I wasn't caught up on the case. So, but with the Daybells, I believe 100% they are guilty, and they've got all the surrounding cult has a little bit of their hand in it. And I think what we're going to see is these people have turned and they're ready to testify against them.
Just
And I'm here for it.
just pause right there. They do not have a right. Let's just be clear about that. The reality is that when you are charged with double murder, you have no right to be in a room with your spouse who is also charged with double murder. That is not in the Constitution. In the Constitution, as it has been interpreted over many, many years in our wonderful country, you do have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, the state, i.e. you and me, will pay for the attorney for you, including a lawyer on appeal. You do not get the right to visit with loved ones in a private room. N-O. That's the end of that.
I guess I never picked up that including a lawyer on appeal. So you don't have to get your own lawyer when you appeal? Wow. And I worked for a lawyer, and that's news to me.
And that is because that's how the judge ruled, Nancy. The judge said, no, it's not happening. You know, you need to communicate, work out a settlement strategy, whatever, go through your attorney. So the only times they do see each other are
the craziest case that I had when I worked for a lawyer was one of those deals where this woman, she actually was a woman because she was over the age of 18, pretended to be a man and did that. What was that? It's not Girl Interrupted, but that movie where Hilary Swank was a girl but a boy. It was just like that. It was there was a journal and there were pictures, and we had people calling from Germany. You know, it's a big case when you get the foreign phone calls, but that was my biggest case.
During these court hearings for a few hours at a time, but that's it. There's no other communication. And Chad has a set list of people that he talks to, his children being some of them, and his attorney, and Lori has a set list of people she talks to. But we're going on over 3 years now.
You could probably look it up too. It was out of Adrian, Michigan, back in like 2000.
I first tracked him down in Hawaii.
Boo-hoo! Oh, I love that video of is it your hand where you're chasing Lori Vallow in Hawaii and you're saying, hey, where are your children?
Love it.
To your children? Do you know where your children are?
Perfect.
Your hand. Yeah. I mean, you were running pretty hard to keep up with her, by the way. Hey, why are you looking at her attire so closely? Is it because you knew someone, me, would ask?
Well, here's the thing.
Well, it's not just you, Nancy. It's all of us that are really interested in the attire.
Where we cover trials and hearings all the time. People
in the hair and the makeup.
Yellow or orange striped jumpsuits, gel uniforms. They don't have their hair curled. They don't have makeup on.
You didn't say she had her hair curled, Nate Aiden.
She's getting her hair curled and she's getting her hair did because she's had her hair color or highlighted for sure.
Did he say that at the beginning? He did say her hair was curled? He did, yeah. You always side with him, Jackie. You always side with him.
Does anyone else? Do you guys look at what Lori's wearing and what her hair looks like and her makeup? I think we do it because Lori prances about like she's like this queen of something, some kind of somewhere, and she just comes off looking garish and weird. So of course we're all looking at it.
Okay, all right. I'll pretend that she's right this time. So her hair was curled. Were they in the what do you say, mermaid curls going down her?
You're right. Yeah. Kind of how her she's looked at in the past. I will say though, the hair dye has worn
This
off.
is why I have to go to Idaho to see this case myself. I'm highly irritated that we can't see inside the courtrooms anymore.
So there
Irritated.
was darker hair. I say it simply because I am asked about that probably more than anything when these hearings come. What did she look like? What was her behavior like? You know, there have been stages of this case where her case is on hold because of her competency questions. And people think, well, maybe if she takes medication or she gets, counseling, that she'll appear and act differently. Or maybe now that cameras are not in the courtroom, she will act differently. I have noticed no changes at all over the past 3 years.
So bottom line, there was a joint appearance in court where cult mom Lori Vallow appeared with, I believe, makeup, hair curled, black tights, a new white shirt, and gazed, sending nonverbal communication to her fourth husband, Chad Daybell, also charged with double murder in the murders of her two children, JJ and Tylee, who were not only murdered, but their bodies burned. What they did to Tylee's body is
God,
just beyond
it's
comprehension to
beyond.
me.
I
That
why
said,
do you think they did what they did to Tylee's body opposed to what they did to JJ's body? It's like they didn't really give a crap about Tylee. It's like burn her and throw her away, but it's like JJ was the sacred one. I want to remind you this is Parawoman Radio and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a like, it's just a free way to help my channel out. Thanks, guys.
sending nonverbal communication to him, he gave one brief smile, and that was it. There's trouble in paradise. That's the banner. And the reality is,
I'm
I
not
believe,
sure if it's trouble in paradise. I think there's been trouble in paradise. I find it strange that he even looked at her because, yeah, I, I thought their strategy was going to be that she was the 100 months. Well, I guess he could still look at her, but it does surprise me that he looked at her. I just, but I think he looked at her to keep her on that string, to keep her, like believing still. I believe
that
that.
Chad Daybell, the cult doomsday prophet, is planning a defense without wife Lori Vallow. He could actually even be turning on her. You know, I see that a lot, Nate Eaton, as I'm sure you have, where once you get co-defendants in court, they always point the finger at each other. Has the judge severed their cases, or are they going to be tried together?
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up, because right now they're set to be tried together beginning of April. But Chad's attorney twice has filed motions to sever. He says that they deserve separate cases.
It's not going to happen. Give it up unless the death penalty is a possibility.
They're probably secretly hoping that Lori becomes incompetent again so that the trials can be separate, because I know that his lawyer, which is Pryor, I can't remember his first name off the top of my head, but yeah, he John Pryor, I think that's what it is. I don't know, but I know it's Pryor, and I love him. I love watching him. When it gets boring, if the camera won't no longer be on him, because there will no longer be cameras, but that's because I've got to go there and see it. That's why I've got to go. I love watching him because he's just entertaining to me. He can't get the microphone right. He can't get it closer. Everyone's telling him to get it closer. He's falling back in his chair. He's throwing pens. I love it. I know he annoys some people though.
They're not going to get their cases severed.
Both, they are going for death penalty.
I thought that they had retracted that. Okay, I'm glad you told me that. So DP is on the table. They probably will be severed then. They will be severed.
It's on the table, and we're 6 weeks away from the trial, and they're still waiting on evidence. So Chad's attorney is arguing, listen, by the time this evidence comes back, I've got to have my expert review it. I've got to get analysis on it. That'll take weeks. It will not be ready by the time the trial starts.
Is it the end of April 3rd? Okay, let's hold on. No. Yeah,
Yes,
this is
April
not going in
3rd.
April. If this is a DP death penalty, it is not going forward in April. I can tell you
Oh,
that right
Well,
really?
now.
here's the problem, Nancy. Lori Vallow has not waived her right to a
Oh,
speedy
yeah, that's
trial,
right.
and she has argued that the clock is ticking. She has 6 months from when she was arraigned last year to have the trial, and when that 6-month date hits, her attorneys filed a motion saying the case needs to be dismissed. Her constitutional rights have been violated because she has not seen a jury. So the judge has to decide, is he going to sever it and give Chad Daybell more time so they can go through this DNA evidence, or do they keep it together and say, sorry, Lori Vallow's right, whose rights supersede the others? So it should be interesting in the next few weeks what he decides to do.
Well, I
Lori
predict a
Vallow,
severance, and I predict Lori Vallow, will go to trial. Is the speedy still in place? She has not retracted the speedy.
No, she
she
hasn't.
has not and says she will not.
Well, they have to go forward. If a speedy trial
That's
demand
why
is
they're
a very
doing it
powerful
on
tool.
April 3rd, because Lori Vallow became competent. And once she became competent, she said, give me my speedy trial. So then they had to schedule it.
Used by the defense. Under our Constitution, you have a right to a speedy trial, and that typically means within the grand jury session in which the case was indicted and one more. Usually grand jury sessions go about 3 to 4 months, and then a new grand jury comes in. So most likely that would be 6 months from the time she files a speedy. That puts the state in a bad spot, especially when you have a lot of circumstantial evidence, DNA evidence, scientific evidence you've got to marshal to get to trial. But if the defense does not retract the speedy trial demand, the state's got to go forward with what they've got, or else it's like
Okay, so I think this might be, sorry, my mic was muted, but what I said was, I think this is how Chad Daybell's lawyer is getting his out with the severance, because they have asked repeatedly for the severance and they haven't gotten it. And now they see the out because Lori has demanded the speedy trial, because once Lori became well, she said, give me my speedy trial, and the judge had to give it to her. And so now there's new DNA, and Pryor had up to now said that they would be ready, and now he's saying they're not going to be ready. And so Lori's trial has to go through in April. And so this is how Chad is probably going to get his out, unless the judge is going to be crazy and let it go through. And but they're usually super, super careful when it's a murder case, death trial.
softball game. You get skunked. It's over. She walks if they don't give her a speedy trial. So unless she withdraws that, they're going forward. And I imagine they would sever Nate Eaton so they can have time to marshal more evidence against him the way they would like to against her. So unless she withdraws it, they are going forward. I'm glad you reminded me of that. So they would be going forward with a DP in April against Lori Vallow. That's how it looks right now to me.
That is how it looks, and that's what her attorneys say they're preparing for. Of course, there could be, from what I'm hearing, there have been talks of a possible settlement plea agreement, but there's been no movement on that.
Who?
With either party.
They've been trying. There's been talks for a settlement between all the parties. They've been trying to do a settlement, but I mean, I guess they're probably trying to do a settlement to get the death penalty off the case off the table?
Or maybe take the death penalty off the table and take life
Sorry, I'm just saying exactly what they're going to say right after I say it. I'll stop.
in prison, or 50-year minimums on each count or something like that. But there's been no headway from everything I've heard.
I
There has
know
been
it's
no headway.
easy for us to sit back and say what we would do, but I guarantee you, if I had this case, I would try Lori Vallow since she won't withdraw her speedy. I would try her with the DP and see where the chips fall, because the reality is, I think it's highly doubtful a jury would give a woman the DP. It has happened. It could happen here because she's so darn conniving. But I would absolutely try her and get the maximum. If not DP, then life behind bars. Do you guys have life without parole?
We do. Yep.
Yeah. Miss Thing needs life without parole. That's what I think she needs. Give her a couple of decades to think about what she did. The latest, an Idaho judge has denied cult mom Lori Vallow's request for a joint 30-minute strategy session with hubby Chad Daybell ahead of their April murder trial. So far, they've not been severed, although continued motions to sever are going down. I predict the judge will sever. Now, Chad Daybell has not filed a speedy. Is that correct, Nate Eden?
Yeah, he waived his right, so he has all the time that he wants, and his attorney wants all the time that he can get with all of the evidence. I mean, there's terabytes of information, the DNA evidence that's come in. I think we talked before, Nancy, about the shovel that was at Chad Daybell's backyard that they found DNA evidence on, and a hair follicle that was found on JJ's, the duct tape that was surrounding his body. They're testing that. They want to know whose hair that is. It's likely it could be Alex Cox, who's dead. And one of the defense strategies could be point the finger at Lori's brother, Alex, who they know was there. His phone pinged on Chad Daybell's backyard where their bodies were found. So are they going to just point it at Alex? Do they have evidence that Lori
Absolutely. They're going to both try to blame Lori Vallow's brother, Alex, her, she said this, not me, avenging angel who would go out and kill people at her bidding. So, you know who's got a pretty good chance? I really think if they're severed, each one has a better chance at pointing the finger at the other. If they're both sitting in the courtroom together, that's going to be more difficult. But Chad Daybell has a pretty good shot at this, at even a potential not guilty. Do I think he's not guilty? No, I don't. But between blaming Alex Cox, the brother, and Lori Vallow, he's got a pretty good chance. If he could convince a jury he had no idea what was being buried in his backyard, essentially.
Yeah, that's a bit convincing, wouldn't you think, Nancy? I mean,
well,
these
for me, yeah, but for someone gullible on the jury, no.
Yeah, it would be a interesting feat to see what his defense
what is
is
going to be the hard evidence against Daybell?
Well, but you've also got his wife who's dead.
But that's not going to be tried here. I think there's a better shot of getting him convicted. Wait, you think they're going to try JJ, Tiley, Emmy?
And Tiley, all three. Yep, all three, murder and conspiracy to commit murder on all three bodies.
Wow, you know what? That was so smart of the state to include all three of the victims in that one indictment. That was really good strategy on their part, because once you throw Tammy Daybell into the mix, a jury, I believe, will absolutely find him guilty on that. I mean, on the Amazon order alone, they're going to go straight to hell. Would you refresh everybody's recollection on the Amazon order? I'm still amazed at that. What idiots.
Yeah. So as Tammy is still alive, Lori Vallow gets into her dead husband's Amazon account and orders a ring.
Which dead husband? Be specific, man.
This was husband number 4, Charles Vallow, who was shot and killed by Lori's brother 3 or 4 months previous. So
I feel like they had gotten away with so many things by now that they like were getting cocky. This happens all the time. They start getting cocky when they get away with it. So why not buy rings? What the heck? Let's go.
Well, she was standing right there going, don't. Go ahead.
and that's also the same day that after the shooting, she took JJ to Burger King and went and bought flip-flops and dropped him off at school as her husband was dying on the floor. So this Amazon order is placed for these rings, and they're real specific green rings that you would have to really go looking for. It wasn't a diamond ring. It wasn't like a fancy engagement ring. Months later, after Tammy's dead, after the children are reported missing, Lori and Chad get married on the beach, and the photos clearly show those rings, both of them wearing rings.
You know what, Nate Aiden? I know you're the veteran reporter, but I think you just totally buried the banner. You buried the headline. This should be above the fold. Didn't she search for and purchase a beach, BEACH, wedding dress? Yes, no.
She did, yep.
And isn't it true that just a couple of weeks after his wife, Tammy Daybell's death, she was healthy as a horse and died in her sleep, they go to Hawaii together, and she has a beach wedding wearing the dress she ordered from Amazon before Tammy's death.
I don't even think it was 3 weeks. I think it was 1 week.
Yeah, 3 weeks after Tammy died. They were
3 weeks.
Guilty. Unless she's clairvoyant, and I don't believe that she is, how would she know that in 3 weeks she was going to have a wedding to a married man? I mean, no. That's completely wrong. Now, it's 3 weeks after Tammy died.
I feel like Pryor is a little bit of a magician, though. I feel like I do feel like Chad, if he can sever from Lori, he will give the jury a run for their money. It will be very interesting.
But how that they got married, but how far before her death did she order her beach wedding dress?
It was a few weeks before her death. But you know, some would say stronger than that is their text messages between each other, Nancy. I mean, Chad was telling Lori in text that the time is coming for Tammy to die. He told Tammy to go visit her family several hours away by herself, and had told people that she was going to be killed in a car crash, and she wasn't dying. His prophecies were not coming true.
You know what I think that was? I'm writing it down. Vanity, one of the 7 deadly sins. Of course, you know, that's in Old English lore, but it's not one of the 10 commandments. But vanity, pride. I
really don't like when somebody brings up a defense against something when it comes to something out of the Bible, when you're making fun of another thing that's like, if the Bible hadn't been around for years and years and years and you read it, it sounds pretty crazy in itself. So I don't like making fun of one with another. It's all kind of strange to me.
That he knew that he was going to kill Tammy Daybell, and he was basically bragging that he was clairvoyant or had prophecies or visions, and then she died in her sleep, as if he predicted it through a prophecy sent from heaven. I hate to even say heaven in the same sentence as all of that. Okay, but yes, you're right. The text messages are incredibly powerful. So right now we've got the judge denying their 30-minute strategy, aka makeout session. Pop Mom Lori Vallow repeatedly asked for her case to be dismissed, completely thrown out. Has Chad Daybell, also asked for the case to be dismissed?
He has not. What their big push right now is the severance. They want the cases split up, and we should know in the next week or so if the judge is going to grant that. The state argues it's the same witnesses, it's the same evidence, it's the same cases. It will cost double. We're already into the millions of dollars for these small Idaho counties. It will cost double to try this case twice. And you made a point a few minutes ago, Nancy, that I think a lot of people would agree with. They try Lori. Chad's able to watch and see what happens in her trial, see what the verdict is, and then maybe he cops the plea after it because he has not waived his right.
I don't want to play.
I don't either.
That. I want them both to go down for life without parole. That's what I want them to have. I think if the state removes the death penalty option, that they can be tried.
I betcha Lori goes down and gets life without parole, and I betcha Chad gets life, and then he will be able to get out.
Together in April. If the state does not remove the death penalty, it's going to make it a lot more difficult.
Yes, they need to remove the death penalty.
Case dismissed. DNA testing continues. I think we're going to have a lot of DNA from the avenging angel brother, Alex Cox. I want to hear anything else you can tell me about her, not just her appearance, the makeup, the curled hair, the blouse, the leggings, but I want to hear about his demeanor as well during the hearing. Glum, downcast.
Well, he continued to look like a frog. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like a frog. What was that frog that was Disney? It was that sings, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling." He looks like that frog to me.
What?
I would say evasive, and he aloof, maybe you could say. Never
trying not to look at her. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He looks straight ahead, regardless of who's talking. He is looking straight ahead. He always has his white dress shirt on with a tie. I don't recall him ever, any.
So nothing's changing. That's exactly what he has looked like in all the televised ones, except sometimes you'll catch him crack a smile here and there.
Banter with anyone else, whereas Lori,
I don't know. If I had Pryor as my lawyer, I would just be laughing just because his mannerisms is funny, and I just think he's funny. He's always throwing pens, or he's almost fallen out of his chair, or he doesn't have the microphone close enough to it's just he's like a vibe. He's an entire vibe.
Taking notes. She's looking around the room. She's smiling. She's very much engaged in a way into what's happening, and so it's quite the dynamic. Which, if they do go to trial together, that will be interesting to watch the dynamics between the two. And Lori's attorney has even said he may put her on the stand.
Tell me about that.
Yes, please.
Well, I think that he maybe wants the world to see who she is in a way, in a weird way, that there have been so many psychological evaluations done on her. I believe it's been 6 different psychiatrists who have evaluated her. She spent 10 months in the Idaho State Hospital, where she, by all accounts, was the social director for the inmates that were there. Not inmates, but the patients that were there. It is.
Who does that remind you of? Jodi Arias. That's who it reminds me of. I've been doing some things about Jodi lately. I've got playlists that I've started on her because eventually we're going to be covering her in Skincare and Suspects. But yeah, Jodi is a fascinating character. A fascinating one.
Something that it's hard to describe until you see her, until you meet her. And the competency has played in 2 times in this trial with different attorneys saying, we don't know if she's competent yet. She has cleared the banner, that she knows what she's charged with, and she can assist in her defense. In Idaho, that's all you need. There's no insanity.
When if it hasn't already started happening, Lori Vallow is getting stuff sent to her. She's getting her commissary filled up. She already has some kind of fund where she's getting all this clothing, and so Lori's going to probably be in prison and get all this money from religious people that, like, oh yes, queen, you are our religious queen, and I think it should be illegal for people to be able to have their commissary filled like that. I don't know how you could like stop it, but I just find it infuriating.
Defense. You just have
I want to remind you, this is Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. It helps me dance out into the algorithm, party out there, and bring some more people back to our party. It's really just a free way to help me out, and I appreciate it.
to be able to assist in your defense and understand what's happening. She meets that standard, but she clearly, but by all accounts, when looking at her, you would think something's not right here. A mother who's charged with murder.
Not right does not rise to insanity.
One of these things is not like the other.
Correct, yeah.
And if you say it's crazy or insane for a mother to kill her child, in the street sense of the word, normal vernacular, yes. But in the legal sense of the word, no. If you knew it was wrong at the time of the incident, then you were not insane. And the cover-up itself tells me she knew it was wrong. The going to Hawaii, the lying about where the children were, the whole thing reeks of cover-up. Now, we know the judge ruled on a Daybell trial postponement and jury sequestration. What was the decision on sequestration?
The jury will not be sequestered during the trial. However, if they do decide to go with a death penalty, then during the penalty phase where they discuss whether she's going to get death penalty or not, they will be sequestered during that portion of the deliberations.
Okay, repeat one more time, please.
So that during the trial, there's the two. If they decide the death penalty phase that she's going to get death penalty during the actual trial, the jury will not be sequestered. When it comes to the penalty phase, if they're found guilty, then they have to decide on the penalty. The jury will be sequestered during that.
Another question. The judge.
Okay, so what they're saying is that the jury isn't going to be sequestered during the trial, but once the trial's over and assuming that they're found guilty, then when they go into the death penalty phase, that they'll be sequestered, which makes sense because this trial is going to be a long time. It's death penalty trials go on for a long time.
The judge ruled on a Daybell trial postponement. Who wanted a postponement?
Chad's side. Chad's side has wanted that postponement.
Lori's side just wants to go full steam ahead. But I'm sure the lawyers don't want to go full steam ahead. It's Lori who's making that happen.
And how did the judge rule? Ixnay?
Ixnay on that.
Yeah, the judge said I can't because the cases are tried together, and I can't push Lori's case out any further.
Without a severance. That's right. If he postponed Daybell's, hers would have to be postponed also if they're going to be tried together, and we can't postpone hers because of the speedy trial demand. Therefore, they both have to go forward. What was his grounds for requesting a delay? The DNA evidence?
Yeah, and it's interesting. You think about this, as I said, we're 3 years into this, and he's still getting evidence turned over. And from what I have heard, the evidence of stuff, electronic evidence, is just they said last week, I believe that they had 2,000 pages of documents.
Hey, you know what? If you don't want to deal with 2,000 pages of new documents against you, don't commit triple murder. There. I put it out there. Remember that, Nate Eaton. Don't commit triple murder if you don't want
triple. It was the 2 kids, the wife, the husband, and then there was another another one of Lori's husbands died, but that was like back in the back. But that's like 5 murders, and I'm pretty sure there's probably one more somewhere in there.
And documents, brand new evidence thrown at you. 4 or 5
And then
weeks ago.
and then the brother either unalived himself or somehow they unalived him.
Before
6
trial.
deaths.
They can both sit there and simmer and stew and think about what they've done. Wait, call Mom Lori Vallow's not thinking about what she's done. She's busy making you pink lip gloss for her next court appearance. Okay, Nate Aiden, run with the wind, man. Thank you for joining us.
We'll stay on it. Thanks, Nancy.
I love Nancy. Run with the wind. I've got it. Hold on a second. So that was Nancy Grace, and what we've gathered is that people are very interested in what Lori Vallow is wearing, what her hair is like, her makeup, her mannerisms, how she's behaving in court. And it's not changed. She's still like flouncing in there like she's Queen P and sitting there. And although it was said that when Chad entered, must have been the first time they're in court together. Is that right? Maybe it was the first time. Anyway, that when Chad walked in, he did glance over to his wifey Pooh and gave her a quick little smile, and then went upon his day, but didn't look at her again. And Lori couldn't stop looking at her husband, her cult husband. And so there was that. So what else? Hold on a second. Yeah. So there was a lot that happened, and I encourage you to go back and watch the live. I'm not going to completely recap it because for those that just watched it, they don't really need that. This is Pairwoman Radio, and I'm Amy. I'll probably be on a little bit later today. I wanted to just tell you really quickly about a new program that I'm kind of starting. Well, I am. I'm starting to make it. No, I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you later. But it's a new thing that has to do with music and murder. So I'm really excited about it. But I'll tell you guys a little bit later about it because it's not completely formed. But so this is Pairwoman Radio, and I'm Amy. If you could give this live a thumbs up, a heart, a smile, I would truly appreciate it. I'm streaming today over on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. So I want to say hi to everybody on all those platforms. I'm so happy that you've joined me. If I could ask you to subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. And if you like any of my lives, if you could share them, it would truly help me out. I've been growing pretty fast, and I'm really excited about it. And I think the more the merrier, don't you? So thank you everyone for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone.
Want you to be mine,
And
want you to be mine.
or reading a quote or reading something, finding something positive to read, because I'm choosing to be better in life, and I choose happiness. You to connect the negatives with the positives in your life, and when you look at that, life becomes so much brighter, like so much brighter when you can do that. So, you know, sometimes we have to reassess, like you to connect the negatives with the positives in your life, and when you look at that, life becomes so much brighter, like so much brighter when you can do that. Love you all, and you guys have an amazing, amazing Saturday.